Those 7 words, spoken by a tall stranger in a flowing white robe, changed my life forever. Come with me. Trust me. They will regret this. I was sitting on the cold marble floor of Dubai International Airport, shaking, hungry, and completely alone, when he stopped right in front of me. He looked down at a crying American girl, surrounded by luxury gold shops she couldn't even afford to look at. But let me go back 4 hours, to the moment I realized my own mother had left me behind. I was 14 years old, standing at gate 23, watching the plane to Bangkok move slowly down the runway. My family was on that plane. I was not. It was just me, a skinny kid in an oversized t-shirt, slowly understanding what had happened. My mother had looked at my brother, believed his lies, and walked onto that plane without looking back even once. She didn't lose me in the crowd. She didn't get confused. She left me on purpose. 4 hours later, the police called her in Bangkok. That was when she finally learned the truth. She found out what her golden boy had really been planning. She realized this trip was never about a vacation. It was about $600,000. When she heard that, her face turned white as a corpse. To understand why this moment became the best thing that ever happened to me, you need to know how invisible I had been my entire life. My name is Molly Underwood. I'm 32 years old now, and I run a successful import-export business. But back then, at 14, I was basically a background character in my own family. You know how some people light up a room when they walk in? I was the opposite. I was human wallpaper, the kind of kid who could sit at the dinner table and still not be noticed. My mother, Patricia, worked double shifts as a hospital administrator. She had done that ever since my father died when I was 6. His death hurt our family deeply, but it hit my brother, Spencer, the hardest. At least, that's what my mother always believed, Spencer was 9 years old when we lost our dad, and from that moment on, he became the man of the house in my mother's eyes. He was 3 years older than me, the star quarterback, perfect teeth, and a smile so charming that teachers forgot he hadn't done his homework. Spencer could do no wrong. And I mean that literally. In 17 years, I never once saw my mother blame Spencer for anything. If something broke, it was my fault. If money went missing, I must have taken it. If there was an argument, I was the one who started it. I learned very early that fighting back was useless. So I became the easy one. The quiet one. The child who never complained, never asked for attention, and never caused problems. I believed that if I was good enough, small enough, invisible enough, my mother would finally see me. She never did. My grandmother, Nora, my dad's mother, lived in Tucson, about 2 hours from our home in Phoenix. When Mom worked extra shifts, Spencer often stayed with her during the summers. Grandma Nora was the only person who ever made me feel noticed. She sent me books in the mail, called me on my birthday when my mother forgot, and told me stories about my father when I was little. But she was getting older, and I didn't get to see her as much as I wanted. The summer I turned 14, something changed. I was accepted into an elite arts program. It was a big deal, a full scholarship. The kind of achievement that should have made my mother proud. For one short moment, the attention was on me. Spencer hated it. He never said it straight out, but I could feel his jealousy like a cold breeze filling the room. He started making small comments, how art programs were useless, how I would probably embarrass the family, how the scholarship was likely a mistake, why mother didn't defend me. She simply changed the subject. About a week before our vacation, something strange happened. I came home early from school, it was a half day because of teacher meetings, and I heard Spencer's voice coming from his room. His door was slightly open, and he was on the phone with someone. I wasn't trying to listen, but what he said made my stomach drop. The trust fund, he said. And she can't find out. Once I turn 18, it's handled. I accidentally stepped on a creaky floorboard. Spencer rushed out of his room and slammed the door behind him. Were you spying on me? He snapped, his face red with anger. I just got home. I wasn't. Stay out of my business, Molly. I mean it. He shoved past me and went downstairs. I stood there for a long moment, confused and uneasy. What trust fund? What was he talking about? I didn't understand it then. I wish I had. A few days later, we left for our big family vacation. My mom had won a trip to Thailand through a workplace lottery, some hospital raffle. It was our first real vacation in years, and I was honestly excited. 2 weeks in Thailand, beaches, temples, and adventure. Our flight path took us from Phoenix to Dubai, with a 6-hour layover, and then on to Bangkok. I packed light, just 1 suitcase. Spencer brought 3. I remember joking quietly to myself that I had learned not to take up space in this family, not even in the luggage compartment. The flight to Dubai was long, but I didn't mind. I had a window seat and spent most of the time reading and watching movies. Spencer and my mom sat together a few rows ahead of me. Every now and then, I saw them laughing, and I felt that familiar sting of being left out. Like always, I swallowed the feeling and pushed it deep down. When we landed in Dubai, I was exhausted, but completely amazed. That airport was unreal. The IT felt like a palace made of glass and marble. Even the bathroom I used had better lighting than my entire school. There were gold shops, designer stores, and restaurants that looked like they belonged in a magazine. I walked around with my mouth half open, feeling like a poor kid who had wandered into a royal palace. My clothes didn't help. I was wearing my favorite oversized band t-shirt, some rock group I barely listened to anymore, and jeans that were a little too long because I'd bought them on sale. I looked exactly like what I was, a 14-year-old kid from Arizona with no idea where she belonged. During the layover, Spencer suggested we split up and explore the terminal. He said he'd take Mom to see the Gold Souk area, and I could check out the bookstore. I was actually glad. Peace was rare in my family, and I wanted to enjoy being alone for once. Before I walked away, Spencer offered to carry my backpack. "You don't want to drag that around," he said. "I'll keep it safe." My passport was inside that bag. So was my boarding pass, my emergency cash, and the $40 my grandmother had given me before the trip. I handed it to him without hesitation. Why wouldn't I trust my own brother? I wish I could go back to that moment. I wish I could grab that girl by the shoulders and tell her to hold on to her bag like her life depended on it, because in a way, it did. I went to the bathroom, then spent about 15 minutes browsing the bookstore. After that, I headed back to our meeting spot near Gate 23. Spencer and my mother were gone. I waited. 30 minutes. Then 45. I kept telling myself they had gotten distracted shopping or lost track of time. But a heavy, sick feeling was growing in my stomach. Finally, I walked up to an information desk and asked about our flight to Bangkok. The woman behind the counter looked at her screen and then back at me. The woman at the counter typed something into her computer, then looked up at me with concern. "That flight has already boarded, dear," she said. "It's taxiing to the runway now." "No," I whispered. "My family is on that flight. I'm supposed to be on it too." She checked the screen again. Patricia Underwood, boarded. Spencer Underwood, boarded. Molly Underwood, no show. My heart stopped. My vision blurred. I think I asked her to repeat it 3 times before the words finally sank in. They left me. My own mother and brother got on that plane and flew to Thailand without me. And as I stood there, completely frozen, I had no idea that in less than 2 hours, I would learn exactly why. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single comment, and your support truly means the world to me. Thank you. Now, back to the story. I stood at the information desk, unable to move. The woman kept talking, asking if I was okay, if there was someone she could call, but her voice sounded muffled, like it was coming through water. Everything felt far away and unreal. My family had abandoned me. My own mother had boarded a plane and flown away without her 14-year-old daughter. A security officer walked over and asked to see my passport. "I don't have it," I whispered. "My brother has it." "Your boarding pass." "He has that too." The officer exchanged a look with the woman behind the counter. I could see what they were thinking, an unaccompanied minor, no documents, no family, no explanation. I learned the truth much later. what Spencer had actually done. While I was in the bathroom, he went straight to the gate. He told the airline staff that I was traveling with other relatives on a later flight because we had booked individual tickets, not a family package. It was some special deal through my mother's work lottery. Nothing seemed suspicious. The gate agent checked Spencer's name, checked my mother's name, and let them board without a problem. But before that, Spencer had spoken to my mother. He told her I had thrown a huge tantrum in the bathroom. He said I had been chatting online with a boy I met on the internet and was trying to find him in Dubai. He claimed I screamed at him, that I hated the family and wanted to be left alone forever. My mother was exhausted and stressed. After years of believing everything Spencer said, she didn't question him. She didn't come looking for me. She didn't ask to talk to me herself. She just nodded, tight-lipped and angry, and followed Spencer onto the plane. She thought she was teaching me a lesson about gratitude, about not being dramatic, about knowing my place. She had no idea she was leaving her daughter alone in a foreign country because her son was a liar. But I didn't know any of that yet. All I knew was that I was completely alone. No passport. Spencer had taken it from my backpack. No money. My $40 of emergency cash was in the same bag. No phone. My mother had taken it before the trip to limit screen time during vacation. I didn't even know my mother's phone number by heart. Like most teenagers, I depended on my contacts list. I knew it maybe started with a 6, but that was it. An airline employee offered to call her for me. They pulled her number from the booking records and dialed. It went straight to voicemail. She had put her phone on airplane mode like a responsible traveler. The irony wasn't lost on me. Security kept asking questions. Where was I from? Where were my parents? Where was I supposed to be going? Did I have any relatives in the UAE? Did I know anyone I could contact? Did I even know my parents' phone numbers? I had no answers, only tears, panic, and the terrifying realization that I was completely alone in one of the largest airports in the world, thousands of miles from home. Security took me to a small office while they tried to figure out what to do. A kind woman handed me water and tissues, but I could see the worry in her eyes. I wasn't just a lost kid, I was a problem. An international situation waiting to explode. I sat in that office for what felt like hours, though it was probably only 45 minutes. My thoughts kept spinning, returning to the same questions again and again. Why would Spencer do this? Why didn't my mother come check on me herself? Why didn't anyone come looking for me? Then, without warning, his words echoed in my head. Asterisk the trust fund. She can't find out. Once I turn 18. Asterisk Spencer was turning 18 in 3 months. I didn't know anything about a trust fund. My mother never talked about my father's money, only that we were comfortable and that she worked hard to keep it that way. But Spencer knew something. He had been hiding something. And now he had left me stranded in Dubai just weeks before my father's estate would become accessible to him. This wasn't a joke. It wasn't sibling rivalry gone too far. This was something much bigger, and I was starting to understand how much danger I might actually be in. Eventually, security ran out of questions and let me return to the terminal with unclear instructions to wait near the main concourse while they contacted the embassy. I wandered in a daze until I found a corner near a cafe. I slid down onto the cold marble floor and sat there. That's when the tears finally came, hot, fast, unstoppable. I pressed my hands over my face, trying to hide them, trying not to draw attention, trying not to completely fall apart. I couldn't stop myself. I tried not to cause a scene, but the tears kept coming. I watched families pass by, kids holding their parents' hands, laughing, safe. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, dropped her stuffed bear. Her father immediately picked it up, handed it back to her, and kissed the top of her head. Such a small thing. Such a normal thing. I couldn't remember the last time my mother had touched me with that kind of warmth. Maybe Spencer was right. Maybe there was something wrong with me. Maybe I was unlovable. A burden. A mistake. Someone the family would be better off without. My stomach growled loudly, snapping me out of my thoughts. I hadn't eaten in at least 8 hours. The last thing I remembered was a stale airplane croissant somewhere over Europe, and that felt like a lifetime ago. I looked around at the shining stores, Gucci, Prada, Chanel. The airport was overflowing with luxury, and I was sitting on the floor with absolutely nothing. No money. No documents. No family. The irony was almost funny. Almost. I wondered what would happen if this were a movie. The brave heroine would find a clever solution. She'd make friends with a security guard, discover a hidden talent, or at least have some survival skills. My survival skills were limited to making microwave ramen and sometimes remembering to do laundry. I was doomed. Time dragged on. I leaned my back against the cold wall and tried to make myself smaller. I had spent my entire life trying to be invisible to my own family. Now, for the first time, I wished someone would see me, really see me, and care. And just when I thought I had reached absolute rock bottom, a shadow fell over me. I looked up. A tall man stood in front of me, maybe in his mid-50s. He wore an elegant, traditional white robe. His grey trimmed beard was neat, and his dark eyes were calm and kind. He looked at me with steady, kind eyes. "Now," he said gently, "will you tell me why you are sitting on the floor of my airport, crying?" The way he said my airport wasn't possessive, it was protective. And something about that made me trust him. Against every warning I had ever been given, I started talking. I told him everything. About Spencer. About the lie he told my mother. About how she believed him instantly, without a single question. About being marked as a no-show while my family flew to Thailand without me. I told him I had no passport, no money, no phone, and no way to contact anyone. I told him about the trust fund I'd overheard Spencer talking about. How I didn't fully understand it, but I knew it mattered. Khaled listened without interrupting. His face grew more serious with every detail, but he didn't look shocked. He looked like a man who had seen many things in a long career and recognized exactly what this was. When I finished, he stayed silent for a moment. "What happened to you," he said slowly, "is not just cruel. It is potentially criminal." My heart skipped. Criminal. He nodded. Abandoning a minor in an international airport, especially while deliberately taking her identity documents, is a serious offense under international law. That word echoed in my head. Serious. But more importantly, he continued, you are a child who needs help. And I'm going to help you. He stood and held out his hand. Come with me, he said. Trust me. They will regret this. I hesitated. Every alarm bell in my head was still ringing. But something deeper, something instinctive, told me this man was safe. Maybe it was the way he spoke about his daughter. Maybe it was how careful he had been with my space. Or maybe I was just desperate. I reached out and took his hand. First, he said as we started walking, we need to get you safe and fed. When was the last time you ate? I don't know, I said quietly. 8 hours. Maybe 10. He made a soft sound of disapproval. That will not do. Come. Khaled guided me through corridors I didn't even know existed. Staff-only hallways, administrative offices, quiet back passages hidden behind the shiny public terminal. It felt like stepping into a different world, one that ran smoothly behind the scenes. Along the way, he spoke briefly to security guards. They recognized him immediately, nodded with respect, and stepped aside. That's when I understood something important. Khaled didn't personally have the power to launch a massive international investigation, but he knew exactly who did. He knew who to call, what to say, and how to make things move quickly. He was connected. He was respected. And most importantly, he was on my side. We stopped at an administrative office with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. A kind woman named Aisha, maybe in her 40s, with a gentle face, sat with me while Khaled stepped into the next room to make phone calls. You're safe now, Habib, Aisha said softly, placing a plate of food in front of me from the staff cafeteria. Chicken, rice, vegetables, warm bread. Whatever happened, you are safe here. I ate like I had never seen food before. That meal, more than just a sandwich, really, was the best thing I had ever tasted. Hunger really is the best seasoning. While I ate, I could hear Khaled on the phone through the wall. His voice was calm, steady, but carried an authority that made everything feel serious. "This is Director Al-Rashid," he said. "I need security footage from gates 20 through 25. Timestamp 14:30 to 4 p.m. "Yes, immediately. We have a minor who was deliberately abandoned. Her identity documents were taken by a family member." I froze mid-bite. Deliberately abandoned. Hearing someone else say it made everything real in a way it hadn't been before. My brother hadn't just forgotten me. He had planned it. An hour later I saw the proof. An hour later, Khaled's team pulled the security footage. They found the exact moment it happened. On the screen, I watched myself walking toward the bathroom, unaware. Behind me, Spencer unzipped my backpack. Calm. Careful. He reached inside, took out my passport and boarding pass, and smiled, a small, deliberate smile. Then he slipped them into his own bag, zipped it shut, and walked away like nothing had happened. Then they showed me the gate footage. Spencer leaned close to my mother and whispered something in her ear. Her face tightened with anger. She nodded, lips pressed together, and turned toward the jet bridge. She didn't look back. Not once. Spencer followed her, and just before he disappeared through the gate door, he glanced back toward the terminal. He was smiling. The footage hit me like a punch to the chest. I had known, logically, that they left me behind. But seeing it, seeing his smile, seeing my mother's complete lack of hesitation, broke something inside me. "This is very clear evidence," Khaled said, sitting across from me. "There is no confusion here. Your brother stole your travel documents and deliberately separated you from your family. Your mother failed to verify his story. This is abandonment." I nodded, feeling numb. "Now," he continued gently, "I need to ask you something. You mentioned a trust fund. Your brother seemed concerned about money. Do you know anything about your father's estate?" I shook my head. My mom never talked about it. She just said Dad left enough for us to be comfortable. I thought that meant the house, normal stuff. Khaled was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes," he said carefully, "siblings do terrible things to protect what they believe belongs only to them. Sometimes parents leave behind more than houses and furniture. And sometimes, those secrets become weapons." I thought about Spencer's words. The trust fund. She can't find out. Once I turn 18. And suddenly, everything felt much darker than before. I thought again about Spencer, about the phone call I'd overheard. She can't find out. Once I turn 18. "My brother turns 18 in 3 months, I said slowly. He was talking about a trust fund. Something he could access when he became an adult." Khaled nodded. "When you return home, you should look into your father's papers. Ask questions. Find out exactly what he left behind, and for whom." "You think this was about money?" I asked. "I think," he said gently, "that people reveal their true character when they believe no one is watching. Your brother has shown you who he really is. The question now is what you will do with that knowledge." I didn't have an answer. I was 14, exhausted, heartbroken, and sitting in an office thousands of miles from home. What could I possibly do? But somewhere deep inside me, something new was waking up. Not just sadness anymore. Not just confusion. Anger. My father used to call me his asterisk hidden gem star. I never understood what he meant. Hidden from what? Hidden from whom? Now, sitting in that airport office with Khaled's steady gaze on me, I was beginning to understand. My father had seen something. Somehow, he had known I would need protection, from my own family. And in his own way, he had tried to give me that protection. I just hadn't discovered it yet. Khaled's phone rang. He answered quickly, speaking in Arabic, then turned back to me with a different look on his face. "The flight to Bangkok is still in the air," he said. "They will land in approximately 90 minutes. I have contacted the authorities in Thailand and the US Embassy here in Dubai. When that plane lands, your mother and brother will be met by police. Child abandonment is a serious crime," he said calmly. "International child abandonment combined with document theft is even more serious." He paused, then looked at me carefully. "You have a choice now, Molly. You can let this go," Khaled said gently. We can arrange for you to fly home quietly, and you can pretend this never happened." Then he paused, and smiled just a little. "Or," he continued, "you can watch justice happen. And trust me when I say, they will regret what they have done." I thought about my mother's face on that security footage. The way she didn't hesitate. The way she never looked back. I thought about Spencer's smile. "I want to watch," I said. Khaled picked up the phone and dialed. His voice stayed calm, but there was a sharp energy in the room now, like the air itself was awake. "This is Director Al-Rashid," he said. "Contact the International Police Coordination Office and the U.S. Embassy immediately. We have a confirmed case of child abandonment involving American citizens. The mother and brother are currently on Emirates Flight 384 to Bangkok. I want authorities waiting when that plane lands. They are not to leave the airport." He ended the call and looked at me with a small, reassuring smile. "Now, young lady," he said, "let's talk about justice." Quick pause here. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, please hit the like button and share it with someone who loves a good karma story. Your support truly means everything to me. Now, back to the story. The next 90 minutes were the longest of my life. Khaled's connections worked fast. Within 30 minutes of his calls, multiple agencies were involved. Dubai airport security documented everything with official timestamps. The U.S. Embassy in Dubai opened an emergency case file for me, a stranded American minor with stolen documents. Thai authorities were alerted and began coordinating with police at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport. Emirates Airlines was contacted as well, and they flagged my family's booking for immediate intervention upon landing. For the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was being seen. I was being protected. And for the first time in my life, someone was choosing *me*. Emirates Airlines received an alert about the situation on Flight 384. From that moment on, everything was documented. Security footage, witness statements, timelines, and records that couldn't be denied or explained away later. Soon after, an embassy official called to speak with me directly. Her name was Ms. Patterson. She had a firm, no-nonsense voice, but kind eyes. She explained what my mother was now facing. "Abandoning a minor in a foreign country is a serious international matter," she said. "Your mother could be investigated in both the UAE and Thailand. Your brother is 17, very close to 18, so his actions will be examined closely. Under Arizona juvenile law, he may face charges related to document theft and child endangerment." I listened in a daze. Charges. Investigation. International incident. These were words from courtroom TV shows, not from my real life. "The evidence is very clear," Ms. Patterson continued. "Security footage shows your brother deliberately taking your documents. There is no confusion here. The question now is how you want to proceed." How I wanted to proceed. As if I even knew. I was 14 years old, sitting in an airport office, eating my second plate of chicken and rice, trying to understand that my own family had committed a crime against me. Part of me still wanted to protect my mother. 17 years of conditioning doesn't disappear in a single afternoon. I kept thinking, maybe she didn't really know. Maybe Spencer fooled her completely. Maybe if I explain everything, she'll apologize and things will go back to normal. But then I remembered the footage. The way she didn't hesitate. The way she didn't look back. And I remembered all the years before that moment. The blame, the silence, the way I learned to make myself small just to survive. And slowly, painfully, I began to understand something I had never allowed myself to believe before. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't confusion. This was a pattern. And for the first time in my life, I realized that protecting myself mattered more than protecting the people who had never protected me at all. To this moment. Every time my mother believed Spencer over me. Every time she took his side without asking questions. Every time I tried to tell her something was wrong and she ignored me. This wasn't a single mistake. This was the result of a pattern that had been building my entire life. I had been too young, too desperate for her love, to see it clearly. The anger I felt earlier, the small flame, grew stronger. Not loud or explosive, but cold and steady. The kind of anger that doesn't fade. The kind that lasts. While we waited for news from Bangkok, something else happened. Something that changed everything. When the plane landed, Thai authorities detained my mother and Spencer. As part of standard procedure, they confiscated Spencer's phone as evidence. Because the case involved a minor, everything was handled carefully, but thoroughly. And when investigators examined his messages, they found exactly what Khaled had suspected. Text messages. Weeks of them. They were sent to his girlfriend, a girl named Brittany, starting almost 3 weeks before our trip. Spencer hadn't acted on impulse. He had planned everything. One message read, "The trip is perfect. I'll get rid of her in Dubai, and Mom will have to pick a side." Another said, "She always picks me." Then this one, "Once Molly's out of the picture, I can convince Mom about the money. She trusts me completely." And the worst one of all, sent just 2 days before we left Phoenix, "Once I turn 18, that trust fund is mine. Molly doesn't even know it exists. And if she runs away in Dubai, she won't have any standing to claim her share." Problem solved. When Khaled read those messages to me, it felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Spencer wasn't just cruel. He was calculated. I hadn't been a sister to him. I had been an obstacle. An obstacle to money I didn't even know existed. And he had decided to remove me from the equation completely, if he could. I didn't want to think about what would have happened if Khaled hadn't found me. If I had stayed lost in that airport, an American teenager with no documents, no money, and no way home. The thought made my chest tighten. Ms. Patterson helped me understand what Spencer had really been protecting. Before my father died 8 years earlier, he had set up a trust fund for both of his children. The total amount was $400,000, split evenly between us. Spencer's half, $200,000, would become fully accessible when he turned 18. That was only 3 months away. My half was different. My father had tied my $200,000 to education. I couldn't access the main amount, but it would pay for college, graduate school, or any professional training I chose, until I turned 25. It was locked, protected, and designed so no one could take it from me. No one, except the courts. Spencer had been trying for months to convince my mother to merge the funds. According to the messages, his argument was that I was difficult, irresponsible, and would waste the money on stupid art stuff. He wanted my mother to go to court and request that my share be transferred into his control. And if I had run away in Dubai, if I caused an international incident that made me look unstable or reckless, it would have been much easier to convince a judge that I couldn't be trusted with my own inheritance. My brother hadn't just tried to hurt me. He had tried to steal my future. And he almost succeeded. During a quiet break between phone calls, Khaled sat down across from me. Aisha brought us tea, sweet and fragrant, nothing like the bitter kind my mother used to drink. We sat in silence for a moment. "I have seen family greed before," Khaled said finally. "In my work, in my country, and in every country. Money has a way of revealing a person's true nature." He looked at me thoughtfully. "And now you have seen it too. Character. It doesn't change people. It simply reveals who they always were." I nodded, staring down into my cup of tea. "But I have also seen something else," Khaled continued. "Your father loved you very much." I looked up at him. "How do you know that?" "Because he protected you," Khaled said gently. "He structured your inheritance so no one could take it from you. Not your mother. Not your brother. No one." His eyes were calm and kind. He sensed something was wrong. Maybe he couldn't name it, but he felt it. And he chose to protect his daughter, even after his death. My throat tightened. For the first time in years, I thought about my father without being swallowed by grief. I remembered him calling me his *hidden gem star. I had always assumed it was just a sweet nickname, something loving fathers say. Now I understood. Hidden from Spencer. Hidden from my mother's favoritism. Hidden from a family dynamic my father could already see forming when I was only 6 years old. He had known. He had always known. "Your father believed in you," Khaled said softly. "Now you must believe in yourself." I didn't know if I could. But sitting there, in that office, thousands of miles from home, I decided to try. Suddenly, the screen on the wall flickered on. A live video feed from Bangkok's airport filled the room. The arrivals gate was bright with harsh fluorescent lights. Uniformed officials stood waiting. An American woman in a dark suit held a tablet in her hands. "That must be the embassy representative," Khalid said. He checked his watch. "The plane has landed. Passengers will begin deplaning in 4 minutes." My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. 4 minutes. In 4 minutes, my mother would learn that her golden son was not gold at all. I leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen, waiting. Waiting for 2 familiar faces to appear. First passengers came through the gate, looking worn out from the long flight. Business travelers stared at their phones. Parents struggled to keep sleepy children together. An elderly couple moved slowly, arm in arm. And then I saw them. My mother appeared first, adjusting her carry-on, scanning the terminal with the unfocused look of someone who had just crossed several time zones. Her hair was perfect. Her clothes were smooth and neat. She looked relaxed, like a woman beginning a vacation. Spencer walked right behind her. He was laughing. Actually laughing, eyes down on his phone, completely carefree. Not a trace of worry. Not a single thought for the sister he had abandoned 12 hours earlier in a foreign airport. They looked normal. Comfortable. Innocent. Like nothing bad had happened at all. 2 Thai police officers and the US Embassy representative approached them calmly. I watched my mother's face change in stages. Confusion first. Then concern. Then something darker, real fear. The embassy representative spoke. I couldn't hear the sound, but I didn't need to. Her tone was professional, firm. She was explaining that Patricia Underwood's daughter had been found alone at Dubai International Airport. That authorities had intervened. That this was now an official international incident. My mother reacted exactly the way I knew she would. Her mouth started moving fast. Defensive. Dismissive. Even without audio, I could read it perfectly. There must be a mistake. She wanted to stay. She threw a tantrum. She asked to be left alone. Spencer stood beside her, nodding at all the right moments. The devoted older brother. Calm. Reasonable. She's always been dramatic. She probably did it for attention. You know how she is. Then one of the Thai officers lifted a tablet and pressed play. I watched my mother's face as the security footage from Dubai filled the screen in front of her. The moment Spencer unzipped my backpack. The careful way he removed my passport and boarding pass. His small, deliberate smile. Her body went rigid. Her lips stopped moving. The excuses died right there. Spencer's smile vanished instantly. He leaned forward, saying something fast. Panicked now. Explaining. Deflecting. But it was too late. The truth was right in front of them, undeniable, recorded from multiple angles. The embassy representative said something else, and this time my mother staggered slightly, like she'd been physically hit. I knew that look. It was the moment she realized she could not talk her way out of this. And for the first time in my life, Spencer had no control over the story. I watched her watch the footage. I watched my mother see her son unzip my backpack while I walked away, trusting him completely. I watched her see him slide his hand inside, pull out my passport, my boarding pass. I watched her see that small, deliberate smile on his face as he tucked them into his own bag like it meant nothing. The color drained from her face in stages, pink to pale, pale to something almost gray. She looked like all the air had been sucked out of her lungs. Spencer started talking. I could see his hands moving, frantic now. His mouth worked fast, probably spilling the same excuses he'd used his entire life. It was just a joke. A prank. He was going to fix it later. He always had an explanation ready. The officer didn't respond. Instead, he swiped to the next screen. Spencer's text messages. My mother leaned closer, reading. I couldn't see the words from the video feed, but I didn't need to. They were burned into my memory. Once Molly's out of the picture, I can convince Mom about the money. That trust fund is mine. She doesn't even know it exists. Patricia Underwood's hand flew to her mouth. Her knees buckled slightly, and for a moment it looked like she might collapse entirely. It was as if something inside her had finally snapped, the version of her son she'd protected, defended, and worshipped shattering all at once. Spencer's mask slipped. I'd watched him charm his way out of trouble my entire life. Teachers believed him. Coaches trusted him. Neighbors adored him. And my mother never questioned him. His smile, his confidence, his easy excuses had always been enough. Until now. You can't charm your way out of video evidence. You can't smile at a security camera and make it forget what it recorded. You can't talk your way around text messages written in your own words. Spencer's face changed fast, confidence draining into confusion, confusion twisting into fear. His shoulders slumped. His hands started to shake. He took a step back, like he could physically retreat from what was happening. But the officers were already beside him. One on each side. For the first time in his life, Spencer was trapped by the truth. I thought I'd feel satisfaction watching it happen. Triumph. Maybe even relief. Instead, what I felt was something quieter and heavier. Because in that moment, I wasn't just watching my brother face consequences. I was watching my mother realize who she had chosen, and what it had cost her. I didn't feel victory. I just felt tired, sad, and relieved that it was finally over. The embassy representative lifted a tablet, and suddenly my mother's face filled the screen. It was a video call. She could see me. I could see her. She looked broken. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked older than I had ever seen her before. "Molly," she said. Her voice cracked. "Baby, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Spencer told me. He said you wanted to stay." "I thought, you didn't check," I said. My voice surprised me. It was calm. Steady. "You didn't ask me. You didn't come to the bathroom to see what happened. You didn't look for me. You just believed him." She started crying harder. I know. I'm so sorry." "You always believe him," I continued. I wasn't shouting. I wasn't crying. I was just telling the truth. "My whole life, you've chosen him over me. Every single time." She sobbed. Behind her, Spencer stared at the floor. He wouldn't look at me. "Dad would never have left me," I said quietly. He knew. He always knew what Spencer was like. That's why he protected my inheritance. Because he knew you wouldn't. My mother flinched, like I had hit her. I could have said more. I could have listed every time she ignored me. Every time I needed her and she chose him instead. But there was no point. She already knew. She always had. She just didn't want to face it. "I'm done," I said. "I'm done being invisible. I'm done being the one who doesn't matter." The embassy representative gently took the tablet away. The call ended. I sat there in silence. Aisha placed a warm hand on my shoulder. Khaled didn't speak. He just sat nearby, calm and steady, like he had been all along. Over the next hour, the consequences became clear. Spencer would be detained and sent back to the United States. The word first class didn't feel real until I was sitting in the seat. Wide. Soft. Too big for someone who'd spent the last day curled up on an airport floor trying not to exist. An airline attendant knelt slightly to be at eye level with me. She spoke gently, like I was something fragile, not broken. "You'll be taken care of the entire flight. If you need anything at all, just let us know." I nodded, unsure what to do with kindness that didn't come with conditions. As the plane taxied, I stared out the window at the lights of the airport blurring into long golden lines. Dubai had been the place where my family abandoned me, but it was also the place where someone finally saw me. Khaled stood at the gate until the door closed. He didn't hug me. He didn't make promises he couldn't keep. He just pressed a small card into my hand before I boarded. "If you ever need help," he said, "you are not alone in this world. Remember that." Then he stepped back, dignified and quiet, like the kind of man who saves lives without needing credit for it. When the plane lifted into the air, I cried, but not the way I had before. This wasn't the silent, ashamed, crying I'd perfected at home. This was something else. A release. Like my body finally believed I was safe enough to fall apart. At 30,000 feet, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like clean linen and something faintly floral, I thought about the girl I'd been that morning. The one sitting on the floor with nothing. No documents. No money. No proof she mattered. That girl felt very far away. By the time we landed in Phoenix, I was met by embassy staff and a court-appointed guardian. Everything was efficient. Official. Controlled. The opposite of chaos. My mother didn't come to the airport. I wasn't surprised. She sent a message instead. Long, apologetic. Full of regret and promises, and asterisk I'll do better asterisk and asterisk family therapy asterisk and asterisk please forgive me star. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because for the first time in my life, I didn't feel responsible for fixing her feelings. Spencer wasn't allowed to contact me. That part was court-ordered. I heard about him anyway. Word travels fast in small towns, especially when a golden boy falls. The scholarship was under review. Coaches stopped returning calls. People whispered. Teachers looked at him differently. He'd built his entire identity on being untouchable. Turns out, evidence touches everyone. As for me, I moved in with a temporary guardian, a quiet woman who didn't ask invasive questions and didn't force affection. She let me take up space at my own pace. I went back to school. I started therapy. I opened a locked drawer in my father's old desk and found a letter addressed to me, written years before he died. Asterisk my hidden gem asterisk it began. Asterisk if you're reading this, it means you've had to be stronger than I ever wanted you to be. I'm sorry I couldn't stay. But I need you to know something. What they overlook in you is exactly what will save you. You don't shine loudly. You shine truthfully. And one day, that will matter more than anyone else's approval. Asterisk I folded the letter carefully and pressed it to my chest. For the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen, by my father, by a stranger in an airport, and finally, by myself. And that was the moment I understood something important. They thought leaving me behind would erase me. Instead, it set me free. Not back to my mother's house. That detail mattered more than I realized at the time. My grandmother didn't ask where I wanted to go. She already knew. She had known for years, in the quiet way women like her know things but wait until the truth is undeniable. Tucson stretched out around us, dusty and familiar, the mountains purple in the distance. The sun was setting, turning the sky the color of embers. It felt like coming home without returning to the place that had hurt me. Her house was exactly the same. The creaky front step. The wind chimes by the door. The smell of tea and paper and something baking that had probably been in the oven since noon just in case. She set my bag down and looked at me, not scanning for damage, not demanding explanations. Just looking. They told me everything, she said quietly. The embassy. The lawyer. I'm so sorry I wasn't there sooner. I waited for the familiar ache. The urge to apologize. To minimize. To say asterisk it wasn't that bad star. It didn't come. It's okay, I said. And for once, it wasn't a lie meant to make someone else feel better. I'm here now. That night, I slept in the guest room with the quilt my grandmother had made when I was 6. The same one. Faded blues and uneven stitching. Proof that some things are repaired, not replaced. In the weeks that followed, life rearranged itself. There were meetings with lawyers who spoke directly to me, not over my head. There were court documents with my name on them, followed by the words asterisk protected asterisk irrevocable asterisk sole beneficiary star. There was therapy, slow and uncomfortable and necessary. There were long walks with my grandmother where we didn't talk at all. My mother called. I let it go to voicemail. She sent emails. Letters. Apologies that circled the truth but never quite landed on it. She said she'd failed me. She said she'd been manipulated. She said she was learning. I believed she meant it. I still didn't go back. Spencer wasn't allowed near me. That part stayed firm. The last thing I heard was that his lawyer was pushing hard for leniency, citing stress, immaturity, bad judgment. None of those words erased what he'd planned. None of them changed what he'd been willing to do. School counselors asked if I wanted accommodations. Extra time. Reduced workload. I took the extra time and declined the rest. For the first time, I didn't want to disappear to make things easier. I joined an art class after school. Just one. My grandmother drove me and waited in the parking lot with a book, never rushing me. I worked quietly, obsessively, charcoal smudging my fingers, paper filling with faces I didn't recognize but somehow understood. One afternoon, my teacher stopped behind my desk. "You see things," she said. "You notice what other people miss." I thought of my father's letter. Hidden gem. I had to, I replied. Months later, a small envelope arrived in the mail. Cream-colored. Elegant. Khaled's handwriting. Inside was a short note. I hope you are well. I hope you are safe. I hope you are becoming who you were meant to be. Remember, visibility is not about being loud. It is about being undeniable. I held that card for a long time. I was still quiet. Still observant. Still the girl who sat at the edge of rooms. But I was no longer invisible. They had tried to erase me. Instead, they taught me exactly how powerful it is to be seen, and how dangerous it is to underestimate someone who's been hidden their whole life. Nodded, tears slipping silently down her face. "I understand," she said. "I don't deserve forgiveness on a timeline. Or at all." That was new. No defensiveness. No bargaining. No asterisk, but I was under stress. Just acceptance. It didn't heal anything instantly, but it cracked something open. For the first time, she wasn't asking me to protect her feelings. We agreed on boundaries. Clear ones. I would stay with Grandma Nora indefinitely. Any contact with Spencer would be zero. No messages, no updates. No, he asked about you. Therapy would be non-negotiable for her if she wanted a relationship with me at all. And most importantly, she would listen when I spoke, even if what I said hurt. Especially if it hurt. Life settled into a quieter rhythm. School in Tucson was smaller, less competitive, kinder in ways I hadn't expected. Teachers noticed when I spoke. Classmates didn't already have a version of me in their heads shaped by Spencer's reputation. I was just Molly. Not Spencer's sister star. Just me. I grew taller. Stronger. Louder, in my own way. The trust fund was finalized under a court-appointed guardian, my grandmother. When the paperwork came through, I cried, not because of the money, but because someone had finally put my safety in writing. My father's foresight wrapped around me like armor. He hadn't been there when things fell apart, but he'd been there where it mattered most. Spencer eventually pled to reduced charges. Juvenile record sealed, conditional probation, mandatory counseling. His scholarship offer was quietly withdrawn. No announcement. No scandal headline. Just an email that said the program was moving in a different direction. I didn't celebrate. I didn't mourn either. I felt free. The last time I saw him was months later, by accident, at a courthouse hallway. He looked smaller somehow. Less sure. He opened his mouth like he was going to say my name. I walked past him without slowing down. Some stories don't need closure. Some people don't get redemption arcs in your life. Walking away isn't cruelty, it's self-respect. Years later, people would ask how I became so independent so young. How I learned to read people so well. How I developed such a strong sense of boundaries. I never told them about the airport. About Dubai. About the moment I realized the people meant to protect me wouldn't, and that I would have to do it myself. That was my hidden gem. Not talent. Not money. Not resilience born from suffering. Clarity. I learned, early and painfully, that love without accountability is dangerous, that silence can be weaponized, and that being underestimated is only a weakness if you believe it is. They tried to leave me behind. Instead, they left me ahead. Could touch it, and left me words instead. The letter was only 2 pages long. No legal language. No instructions. Just my father's voice, warm and steady, like he was sitting beside me on the edge of my bed. He wrote that he was sorry he wouldn't get to see who I became. That he worried about the imbalance in our family, not in love, but in power. That some people take up all the oxygen in a room without realizing they're suffocating everyone else. He said he saw how often I shrank to make things easier, how often I chose peace over truth, and how that scared him more than my quiet ever did. You are not weak, he wrote. You are observant. And the world mistakes that for softness. He told me he believed I would leave places better than I found them, not loudly, not dramatically, but undeniably. And then, at the very end, a single line that made me fold the letter into my chest and cry harder than I had at the airport. Harder than I had when I saw the footage, harder than I had at any point since losing him. Asterisk, if you are reading this, it means you survived something you should never have had to endure. I'm proud of you already. Asterisk, that was the moment something finally settled inside me. Not healed. Not erased. But anchored. Life didn't become perfect after that. Therapy was messy. Trust came back slowly, like a skittish animal. My relationship with my mother remains careful, structured, honest in ways it never was before. Some days we do well. Some days we don't. But she no longer pretends, and neither do I. I went to college on my trust fund, quietly, safely, exactly as my father intended. I studied psychology, then law. I was drawn to systems, to the places where power hides and rules are bent quietly, where people like the girl I was fall through cracks no one bothers to seal. I never forgot Dubai. Not the fear, but the moment someone saw me. Khaled still sends a holiday message every year. Always short. Always the same ending. Stay visible. And I do. Not by shouting. Not by proving anything to anyone who once doubted me. But by taking up space without apology. They tried to erase me with lies, favoritism, and silence. Instead, they taught me exactly how to survive them. And that, more than any trust fund, any scholarship, any courtroom victory, was the inheritance that mattered most. Could reach it until I was 25 and completely independent. He'd even taken out a separate life insurance policy and named only me as the beneficiary. Not because he loved me more, he explained in the letter, but because he knew Spencer would always be protected by our mother. I was the one who needed a safety net. The letter ended with words that stayed with me forever. Molly, my hidden gem. You will face storms within this family, but you were built to survive them. Be patient. Be strong. And never forget that your father loved you beyond measure. I believe in you. Always. Dad, when I finally gained full access to everything at 25, the total inheritance came to $600,000. $200,000 from the trust. $400,000 from the life insurance. Enough to completely change my life. I didn't waste it. I invested carefully. I built something of my own, an import-export business focused on artisan goods from the Middle East. Funny how life circles back like that. What started as a quiet idea grew into a real, successful company. Something I earned. Something no one could take from me. Khaled stayed in my life. He flew in for my college graduation and stood quietly in the back row, wiping his eyes when my name was called. Every year, on the anniversary of the day everything changed in Dubai, I send him flowers. He sends me books on business, philosophy, resilience, and finding light in dark places. My relationship with my mother didn't magically fix itself. Healing was slow, careful, built on therapy, boundaries, and uncomfortable honesty. We aren't best friends, and we probably never will be. But we're real now. And that honesty is something we never had before. Thank you so much for watching. More of my most powerful stories are already on your screen. Click one now. You won't want to miss what happens next. See you in the next one.